Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is enjoying their day. Please subscribe and like the video before continuing. The Young and the Restless spoilers. Kane's scheme to frame Damian. Is Carter his accomplice? The Young and the Restless, Y&R. Spoilers tease that Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn, sets up his attempted murder ruse, potentially framing Damian Kane, Jermaine Rivers, for the stabbing. Kane cannot fight his jealousy over Damian's growing connection to Lily Winters, Christelle Khalil. Get updates on the latest news about The Young and the Restless straight to your inbox. We use your personal data for interest-based advertising, as outlined in our privacy notice. What is this? Kane is confident that Lily would turn her back on him if she believed he tried to end his life. No matter the status of their relationship, they share children. But the question remains, will Kane's plan work? Carter stabs Kane and frames Damian. Kane has worked hard to acquire his wealth and achieve billionaire status by having a twisted double life. Lily had no idea of his business dealings all these years. He likely saw his family, the twins and Lily, during this time. To win Lily over, he will need to act quickly to cut the growing bond she has with Damian. That's where Carter, Vincent, Stalba comes in. Kane orders him to stab him, setting the stage to frame Damian for the crime. The Young and the Restless spoilers say that Kane's plan to frame Damian for murder is a ploy to manipulate Lily into believing Damian is not what he seems. He needs to create doubt in her mind so she creates some distance with him. What is this? Kane put the plan in motion before anyone arrived. Kane invited Chancellor Connor Floyd to France for protection. He told the detective he was positive someone was trying to kill him. He wanted him there in case they attacked him. He needed him to make sure this person would face justice. The Young and the Restless spoilers state that Chance isn't sure he believes Kane's story, but he loves a good mystery, so he came along for the ride. Social media users pointed out that having Chance there doesn't make sense. If he was truly scared of an attack, he could have called the local police and had a peace officer present while his guests were there. The knife set is a clue. On the train, Y&R zeroed in on a knife set. There would be little need for a knife set like that unless someone was plotting an attack. Then there's the weekly promo. A black-gloved hand is holding one of the knives from the set while a scream can be heard from the distance. The only thing that makes sense in this storyline is that Kane sets up an attack by someone who is on his payroll while framing Damian for the crime. It would serve a couple of purposes. One, separates Damian and Lily, and two, creates the illusion of someone being after Kane. What is this? Y&R fans, do you think Kane will set Damian up for murder? Please share your thoughts with me in the comments section below. Don't forget to watch The Young and the Restless, airing weekdays on CBS and streaming on Paramount+. And our Bombshell, Kane's evil plot to frame Damian, is Carter helping him? Prologue. Darkness brews at Society. The gentle clink of martini glasses echoed through Society's dimly lit bar as Kane Ashby leaned against the polished counter, swirling his bourbon with silent calculation. His dark eyes tracked Damian Novak, who sat at a corner table with Victoria Newman, discussing Newman Enterprises' latest acquisition. "Careful, Damian," Kane murmured under his breath, a smirk curling at his lips. "You have no idea what's coming." Beside him, Carter Boudreaux sipped his neat tequila, studying Kane's expression warily. "You sure about this?" he asked, his Louisiana drawl low. "Framing Damian isn't a small play." Kane's gaze hardened. "I don't do small, Carter. Damian's in my way, and you're going to help me take him out." Monday, the target. Earlier that day, Kane sat in his sleek penthouse office, reviewing Damian's digital footprint. The Australian businessman had returned to Genoa City 6 months ago, charming Newman board members with his international energy deals and philanthropic brand. But Kane saw through the charisma. Damian was quietly bidding on Ashby Holdings' real estate division, a move that threatened Kane's entire financial empire. "Time to ruin the golden boy," Kane muttered as he clicked through Damian's security weaknesses. Bank records, offshore holdings, secret charitable funneling structures, all tools for leverage or destruction. Tuesday. Recruiting Carter. Later that night at Society, Carter leaned in close, his voice low as he watched Damian laugh with Victoria. "Why me, Kane? Why drag me into your war with Damian Novak?" Kane smiled coldly. Because you're good at disappearing files, forging wire transfer trails, and planting evidence where I tell you to. And because if you don't help me, I'll make sure the IRS sees those offshore accounts you're funneling your brokerage commissions through. Carter swallowed hard, fear flickering in his eyes. What do you want me to do? Kane's smile widened wolf-like. Everything I say. Exactly when I say it. Wednesday, the setup begins. The next morning, Carter slipped into Damian's downtown office under the guise of a maintenance audit. As he inspected the Wi-Fi router, he plugged in a small drive loaded with tracking malware. Within seconds, Kane's laptop pinged with access to Damian's internal server, personal calendar, and encrypted financial logs. Beautiful, Kane whispered to himself. Let's make Damian Novak look like Genoa City's newest corporate criminal. Thursday, the plant. That afternoon, Damian hosted a private meeting with Jill Abbott at Chancellor Winters, pitching a renewable energy partnership. As he left the boardroom to take a call, Carter, disguised as a food delivery driver, slipped into the room. He pulled a small manila folder from his satchel, placing it strategically under Damian's open briefcase before vanishing into the hallway. Inside the folder were forged loan documents and digital transfers implicating Damian in an illegal foreign investment scheme under Chancellor Winters' corporate license. Friday, Kane's final play. Back in his penthouse, Kane dialed Chancellor Winters' compliance hotline anonymously. "This is a concerned citizen," he said, disguising his voice through a modulation app. "I just wanted to let you know there's evidence Damian Novak has been laundering money through your company. Check his briefcase. You'll find everything you need." He hung up, a satisfied smile curling across his lips. Saturday, Damian's world collapses. The next morning, security escorted Damian out of Chancellor Winters after compliance officers found the planted documents. He protested his innocence furiously, demanding to see Jill, Devon, or Lily, but their faces remained grave with suspicion. "This isn't me," Damian shouted, his voice cracking as he was led out in handcuffs. "This is a setup. Someone's framing me." Watching from the glass walkway above, Kane sipped his coffee calmly, satisfaction gleaming in his eyes. Sunday, Carter's fear grows. Later that night, Carter paced his small apartment, hands trembling as he packed a suitcase. His burner phone buzzed with an incoming call from Kane. "Where do you think you're going?" Kane asked calmly. "Away," Carter stammered. "I can't be here when this blows up." Kane chuckled darkly. "You're not going anywhere, Carter. If you run, I'll release every offshore file I have on you to the FBI. Carter sank onto his bed, tears filling his eyes. "What do you want from me now?" "Stay close," Kane replied. "We're just getting started." Monday, Sharon learns the truth. Back at Crimson Lights, Sharon sat across from Mariah, reading the local news headline, "Damian Novak arrested in corporate laundering scandal." Mariah frowned, scrolling through Twitter reactions. This makes no sense. Damian's too smart to leave physical evidence lying around. Sharon's eyes narrowed, memory flickering to Kane's cryptic visit weeks ago. "Unless someone planted it," she whispered. "Who would do that?" Mariah asked, brow furrowed. Sharon swallowed hard, dread sinking in her stomach. "Kane Ashby." Epilogue. The war begins. That evening, Sharon called Nick, her voice shaking with urgency. "Nick, we need to talk," she said. "Damian's been framed, and I think Kane is behind it. We have to stop him before he destroys anyone else." As Nick hung up and grabbed his jacket, Kane sat alone in his dark penthouse office, city lights glowing beneath him, bourbon swirling in his glass. "Sleep well, Damian," he whispered to himself. "You're just the first." Because Kane Ashby wasn't playing games anymore. He was building an empire. And no one, not Damian, not Carter, not even the Newmans, would stand in his way. The Young and the Restless shock. Kane sets up Damian. Carter revealed his secret accomplice. Prologue. Brewing betrayal. The sleek glass walls of Ashby Holdings' new penthouse office gleamed in the early morning sun as Kane Ashby stood gazing over Genoa City, a smirk curling across his lips. His tailored charcoal suit accentuated his broad frame, his dark eyes reflecting quiet menace as he sipped his espresso. Today was the day his meticulous plan would unfold. Today was the day Damian Novak would finally fall. "Carter," Kane called without turning around, "is the transfer prepared?" From behind him, Carter Boudreaux stepped forward, nervously adjusting his tie. Yes, sir, everything's in place, but are you sure about this? Keen turned, his gaze piercing. Damian threatened my expansion. He tried to sabotage my merger with Chancellor Winters last month, and now he's whispering poison into Jill and Devant's ears. It's time he learned his place, and you, my friend, will help me teach him. Carter swallowed hard, nodding silently as fear flickered in his pale blue eyes. Monday, the first strike. Later that morning, Damian Novak sat in the Chancellor Winters boardroom, his thick binder of reports open before Jill Abbott and Devin Hamilton. Dressed in an elegant navy suit, his salt and pepper hair brushed neatly back, he exuded calm confidence as he spoke about sustainable energy investment opportunities. This partnership could increase Chancellor Winters' market share by 25% within 2 quarters, Damian said, gesturing to the projections on the screen behind him. Jill smiled, impressed. This is exactly the kind of innovative thinking we need. But outside the glass conference room, Carter lurked, his maintenance uniform a perfect disguise as he installed a new router. Unnoticed, he slid a USB drive into Damian's laptop bag, hidden in the outer zipper pocket. Minutes later, as Damian packed his materials, Carter slipped away unnoticed. Tuesday, the setup deepens. Back at Ashby Holdings, Kane scrolled through security footage Carter streamed to him in real time, his lips curling into a satisfied smile as he watched Damian leave the building, unaware of the planted evidence. Perfect, Kane whispered. Time for phase 2. He dialed a number on his burner phone. Anonymous tip line. I need to report corporate espionage and embezzlement at Chancellor Winters. You'll find proof in Damian Novak's laptop bag. He hung up, closing his laptop with a snap. Checkmate, he murmured to himself. Wednesday, the bombshell explodes. The next morning, Damian arrived at Chancellor Winters only to be greeted by GC police detectives and corporate compliance officers. Mr. Novak, we need to search your belongings, the lead detective said sternly. Damian frowned, confusion flickering across his face. What is this about? They pulled out his laptop bag and unzipped the outer pocket. Damian's blood ran cold as they revealed a folder containing printouts of forged wire transfers from Chancellor Winters' subsidiaries to an offshore shell company registered under Damian's name. This isn't mine, Damian stammered, his voice shaking. I don't know where this came from. But Jill stood silent, her eyes filled with disappointment, while Devin's jaw tightened with restrained fury. Thursday, Kane's cold victory. Back at Ashby Holdings, Kane poured himself a glass of bourbon as Carter stood trembling by the window. Damian's been suspended pending investigation, Carter said hoarsely. They're talking about pressing charges. His reputation, it's done. Kane raised his glass with a sardonic smile. Beautiful? Carter swallowed hard. Why him, Kane? Why ruin him like this? Kane's eyes narrowed, his tone dripping with ice. Because he dared to threaten my empire. Damian's influence with Chancellor Winters was growing too strong. I won't let anyone get in my way. Not him, not Jill, not Devin. He took a slow sip, relishing the burn. And if you ever question my decisions again, Carter, remember who holds your secrets. Carter nodded silently, fear flickering in his eyes as he backed away. Friday, the truth begins to unravel. Later that afternoon, Sharon Rosales sat with Mariah and Tessa at Crimson Lights, reading the news update on her tablet. Damian Novak suspended from Chancellor Winters amid embezzlement scandal, Mariah read aloud, frowning. That doesn't sound like him. Damian's worked his entire career to build a clean reputation. Sharon nodded thoughtfully. It doesn't add up. And Kane's been unusually smug this week. Mariah raised an eyebrow. You think Kane set him up? Sharon sighed, her chest tight with dread. I wouldn't put it past him. Damian threatened his merger deals last month. Kane's not above framing someone to protect his empire. Saturday, Carter's crisis. That night, Carter sat alone in his dingy apartment, nursing a cheap whiskey as tears streamed down his face. He pulled out his burner phone and dialed Damian's private number, hands trembling. Damian, it's Carter, he whispered when the call connected. Carter? Damian's voice was raw with disbelief. What's going on? Why are they framing me? I'm so sorry, Carter sobbed. Kane made me plant the documents. He's been planning this for weeks. I didn't want to do it, but he threatened to expose my offshore accounts. I didn't know what else to do. Damian fell silent, his breathing ragged through the phone. Listen to me. You need to come forward, Carter. Tell them the truth. You can fix this. I can't, Carter whispered brokenly. If I do, Kane will ruin me, and I can't survive prison. Sunday, Sharon's resolve. The next morning, Sharon found Damian sitting alone in Chancellor Park, his suit wrinkled, eyes hollow with exhaustion. Damian, she called softly, sitting beside him on the bench. Mariah told me what happened. He shook his head, tears brimming in his eyes. It's over, Sharon. Kane won. No, Sharon said firmly, her voice filled with quiet steel. Not if we fight back. You said Carter confessed. That means there's proof. We'll find it. Kane thinks he's untouchable, but he's wrong. Damian looked at her, hope flickering weakly in his dark eyes. Why are you helping me? Sharon smiled softly. Because I know what it feels like to have your life ripped away by a man who thinks he's above the law. And because Cassie would want me to. Epilogue. The war begins. That night, Kane stood on his penthouse balcony, staring out at the glittering Genoa city skyline, bourbon in hand. The night breeze rustled his crisp white shirt as he smiled coldly. Another enemy eliminated, he whispered. But inside his office, his phone buzzed with a new email alert. From Carter Boudreaux. Attachment. Audio recording. Kane Ashby. Plot to frame Damian Novak. Nip 3. Kane's eyes widened with fury as thunder rumbled in the distance, lightning illuminating his tense silhouette against the glass windows. Because Kane Ashby's empire was built on secrets. And tonight, those secrets were about to destroy him. Y&R spoilers, Kane frames Damian in shocking scheme, but wait till you see Carter's role. Prologue. The shadows of power. Genoa City's skyline glowed beneath the setting sun as Kane Ashby stood at his penthouse window, swirling a glass of bourbon. His jaw tightened with quiet fury as he replayed Damian Novak's speech from earlier that day, broadcast live from the Chancellor Winter's boardroom. With strategic acquisition and green energy reinvestment, Chancellor Winters can outpace Ashby Holdings' development trajectory within 2 fiscal quarters. Kane's fingers clenched the glass so tightly he nearly shattered it. Damian's confidence was a direct threat to every expansion move Kane had built since returning to Genoa City. He wouldn't allow this smooth-talking businessman to strip away his legacy. Not this time, Kane muttered. Behind him, Carter Boudreaux stood silently, eyes lowered. Dressed in a sleek black suit with a dark blue tie, Carter looked every bit the trusted junior acquisitions manager he presented to the world, but beneath his composed exterior, his heart pounded with dread. Ready? Kane asked coldly. Carter swallowed hard, nodding once. Yes, Mr. Ashby, the plan is ready. Monday, the perfect setup. Earlier that day, Carter had met with Damian under the guise of presenting him with new renewable portfolio options for Chancellor Winters. In a polished conference room overlooking the city, Damian leaned back in his chair, his intense brown eyes scanning Carter's slides. These projections look promising, Damian said thoughtfully, tapping his pen against the table. Send me the full data set and we'll discuss potential integration this week. Carter nodded quickly, slipping a sleek black USB drive from his folder and plugging it into Damian's laptop. Of course, Mr. Novak. Everything is preloaded here for your review. He kept his expression calm as the malware hidden on the drive embedded itself into Damian's operating system, duplicating his credentials and financial access keys to Ashby Holdings' private server. Tuesday, Carter's secret orders. Back at Ashby Holdings that evening, Kane reviewed the harvested files Carter uploaded to his secure folder. Outstanding, Kane drawled, scrolling through Damian's offshore investments, personal schedule, and encrypted board memos. Now for the final touch. He typed swiftly, editing Damian's financial records to reflect a $3,400,000 0 cents transfer to a fraudulent shell company registered under Damian's name in the Cayman Islands. The fabricated paperwork included Chancellor Winters' corporate logo and Damian's e-signature, perfectly forged using the data Carter's malware harvested. As Kane leaned back, satisfied, Carter hovered by the door, his hands trembling. Mr. Ashby, framing Damian for embezzlement? It's a felony. Kane's gaze hardened, sending chills down Carter's spine. So is insider trading, Carter. Which reminds me, if you ever think about refusing me, remember those old wire transfers from your brokerage days? I still have them all. Carter swallowed hard, fear burning through his chest. Yes, sir. Wednesday, the bomb drops. The next morning, Jill Abbott and Devin Hamilton sat in the Chancellor Winters boardroom reviewing quarterly earnings when Compliance Director Maggie Hayes burst in, her face pale. Miss Abbott, Mr. Hamilton, you need to see this, she said breathlessly, placing a printed stack of flag transactions on the table. Devin scanned the top page, his eyes narrowing. $3,400,000, 0 cents, sent offshore under Damian's authorization code. What is this? Maggie shook her head. It was flagged by our external audit team this morning. The company is registered to a subsidiary tied to Damian's personal accounts. Jill's face hardened. Bring Damian in, now. 15 minutes later, Damian walked in, frowning as he read the flagged documents. This isn't me, he said, his voice trembling with disbelief. I never authorized this transfer. Devin's gaze was ice cold. Then how do you explain your credentials, signature, and the originating IP address matching your laptop? Damian shook his head helplessly. Someone's framing me. But Jill remained silent, her expression weary with betrayal. Thursday, Kane's satisfaction. Back at Ashby Holdings, Kane watched the Chancellor Winters press conference live on his office TV as Damian's suspension was announced pending investigation. He raised his glass of bourbon in silent victory. Never challenge me again, he whispered. Behind him, Carter stood rigid, nausea twisting his stomach as Damian's face flashed across the screen, haunted and broken. Friday, the breakdown. That evening, Carter sat in his apartment, staring blankly at the wall as Damian's voicemail played on speaker. Carter, please. I don't know what's happening. They think I stole from them. You've worked with me for months. You know this isn't me. Please call me back. Carter squeezed his eyes shut, tears streaming down his face. His phone buzzed with an incoming text from Kane. Good work. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., my office. We're not done yet. Saturday, Sharon's suspicions. Meanwhile, at Crimson Lights, Sharon Rosales read the news story on her phone, frowning deeply. Damian Novak suspended for embezzlement, she read aloud, shaking her head. This doesn't make sense. Mariah sipped her latte, glancing at her mother curiously. Why him? Sharon exhaled shakily. Because he threatened Kane's business. Damian exposed flaws in Ashby Holdings' expansion bid last month. Kane never forgives humiliation. Mariah's eyes widened. You think Kane framed him? Sharon nodded slowly. I think Kane set this up, and he didn't do it alone. Sunday, Carter breaks. That night, Carter sat outside Society, chain-smoking nervously as thunder rumbled across Genoa City's humid skies. Finally, he pulled out his phone and dialed Sharon's number. Hello? Sharon answered cautiously. So retroactively, it's Carter Boudreaux, he whispered, his voice shaking. I need to talk to you about Damian, about Kane. I can't do this anymore. Sharon's heart raced. Where are you? Outside Society. Please hurry. Monday, the confession. Minutes later, Sharon pulled into Society's parking lot, rain pelting her windshield as Carter stood under a flickering street lamp, soaked to the bone. Carter, she said gently, rushing to him with an umbrella. What happened? Tears streamed down his face as he clutched her arm desperately. It was Kane, he sobbed. He made me plant malware on Damian's laptop. He used it to forge embezzlement transfers. He's framing him to destroy his career. Sharon's eyes filled with tears. Why would you help him? He blackmailed me, Carter choked out. He has wire transfers from my brokerage days. If I didn't help, he said he'd send them to the FBI. I didn't know what else to do. Sharon placed a hand on his shoulder, her voice calm despite the fury burning inside her. You're doing the right thing now, Carter. You're going to help us clear Damian's name. He nodded weakly, collapsing into sobs as thunder cracked above them. Epilogue, the war begins. Back at his penthouse, Kane sat at his bar, swirling his bourbon as he watched the rain cascade down his floor-to-ceiling windows. His phone buzzed with a new email alert. From Carter Boudreaux. Subject, confession. Attachment, audio recording, Kane Ashby plotting Damian Novak frame up 3. Kane's breath caught in his throat as he opened the file. His own voice played back, cold and damning. He threatened my expansion. He needs to be eliminated. You'll plant the malware. I'll handle the financial edits. And then Damian Novak will never threaten me again. Thunder rumbled outside as Kane's grip tightened around his glass, fury and fear flooding his veins. Because his empire was built on secrets and fear. And now, those secrets were about to destroy him.